I want to take a minute and just step back for a second and talk about modifying workbook queries. So throughout this section of the course, we've been adding all sorts of queries, loading all of these CSV files into our model, but I haven't really taken a minute to step back and tell you what we need to do if we ever need to edit or modify some of the queries we've already created. So it's very, very simple. All you need to do in the Get and Transform section is show your queries, which will populate that queries pane on the right side of your screen. And then from here, you can either right click or hover over one of your queries, and it will allow you to either press edit and jump right back into the query editor, or you can even use some of those query editing tools right here in the menu without going into the editor. Generally speaking, I'm pretty comfortable in the editor, so I like to go ahead and press the edit button and make my changes there, but it's up to you. So really quickly, let's say we want to make some changes to that transaction 1997 file that we had already loaded up through Power Query and loaded into our data model. Let's jump into Excel and I'll show you how we're going to make those changes. All right, so here we are in our Food Mart data model. If you've been following along, you should see 5 queries or tables that we've loaded up. If you don't see those, head to your data tab and it's this show queries button that will just show or hide that queries pane. And let's say, we're not quite happy with the editing that we've done to the transaction 1997 table. You can either hover over and press edit here. Note you can also delete queries from the pane as well, or you can right click, edit from here, or like I said, access some of those tools directly. So let's go ahead and edit this transaction 97 query. And here it takes me right back to my familiar query editor. And think of it like I've got the same canvas to work with now. So I can go into any of my applied steps. I can modify things. I can delete steps. I can start from scratch if I want. And when I close and load this, it's just going to apply the changes that I've made. So as a quick demo, let's say in this case, we'd added this transaction ID column using an index column. What if we don't need that anymore? Let's go ahead and remove that. And then we also created a conditional column for order size. Turns out we don't need that one either. So let's right click and remove that column as well. And again, you can make any other change you want using the tools that we've already covered. So now I've got my data set in a format that I'm happier with. One thing to note, when I go to this close and load menu, it's a little bit concerning because the close and load to button is actually grayed out. And that's the one that I've been telling you this whole time is the one we need to use. So here's the thing. This query has already been loaded to the data model. The connection properties are already in place. Excel knows that this data needs to flow straight into the model and not land in a worksheet. So the loading settings have already been applied here. So when I hit close and load, it's going to run through those same properties and load straight to the model. I don't have to worry about that accidentally landing in a worksheet. So just remember, the first time you're loading up the data and creating the connection right off the bat, that's when you have to load to. Once that connection's been established and the loading rules have been set or applied, then you're just going to see the load option. But there you have it. It's rerun, it's refreshed that table. You can jump into the data model, look at that tab, and you'll see now that we don't have that transaction ID column, and that conditional column for order size is gone as well. So it instantly refreshed and updated the table view to reflect the changes that we just made. So really simple, but really helpful. Just know that these are all fluid, nothing set in stone. You can always edit your queries at any time. So that's a really great property of Power Query because it gives you a ton of flexibility to make changes and adjust your strategy as you go on. So there you go, very quick summary of modifying workbook queries.